I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in UK test part 613 by doing leg stretching. And if you participate in the leg stretching, that is at your own risk. We're bringing one leg in front with the heel onto the ground and then pull the toes in. And from time to time we're going to contract the quad muscles. So pull the toes in and contract the quad muscles. We already had it all and we're going now through it all again. For all of it again. And we're always looking for something about which we can prepare a presentation. And as soon as we're done with it, we record a separate video and in that we present what we learned here. So we have one video to that topic. And the next one should be the House of Commons. And release your contraction, but keep the stretch. We already did a video about the Houses of Parliament, which includes the House of Commons and the House of Lords, but we want a singular video just for the House of Commons. What we want to say is, it is regarded as the more important of the two chambers. So the House of Lords is the other one. The members of it are democratically elected. But we know the Prime Minister and almost all the members of the Cabinet are members in the House of Commons. And we're contracting again. How can it be possible that we have people of the Cabinet who are not part of Parliament, of House of Commons? It's not in here. And they all present a parliamentary constitution, all these MPs, these are members of Parliament. And they have the responsibility to represent their constituency, to help to create new laws, to scrutinize and comment on what the government is doing, and to debate important national issues. And we release in the contract what we give the next stretch. When you're going to say something to the history, we do not say what we said to the Houses of Parliament with King John and the Magna Carta, but we're going to say something to the voting right. That could be important. We're going to say that in 18 and contract again for last time the quad muscles and pull the toes in. It's not that hard to find, but I'm searching again. Here. It's not here. It's here. It's not chronologically 1832, and we have thought previously already about the Crimean War 1853-1856. But okay, it's during the Victorian Age. 1832 and 1867. What do we have for receive page 33? We're going to say maybe something to that as well. And we're changing the leg. The laws passed after the Glorious Revolution. So we have a leg in front and pull the toes in and contract the quad muscles. The laws passed after the Glorious Revolution, so the thing of William and Mary on the front, are the beginning of what is called constitutional monarchy. The monarch remained very important, but was no longer able to assist on particular policies or actions if Parliament did not agree. After William III, the ministers gradually became more important than the monarch, but this was not a democracy in modern sense. The number of people who had the right to vote for members of Parliament was still very small. Only men who owned property of a certain value were able to vote. No women at all had the vote. Some constituencies were controlled by a single wealthy family. And we release in contraction what we keep in the leg stretch. And these were called pocket boroughs. And our constituencies had hardly any voters, and were called rotten boroughs. I get it. When we read it on page 33, we didn't know what constituencies are, because that was explained later on during the blue pages in the blue chapter and in the glossary, so in a way our own fault, but we read from the beginning and it is not written here what word is explained. So if it was written, if you don't know what a constituency is, and we maybe should explain it at some point, we have it in the glossary at the end. It's not said what is explained in the glossary. And many of the things here are never explained in the glossary. Constituency. We didn't know what constituencies are. Now it's completely clear. And that means constituencies. Rotten boroughs, so that means there are a few thousand people living, but just the people with a certain amount of land could vote, so that in that constituency, only the people belonging to that one family with different areas, they could vote. Only 6, 7, 8 people could vote, and they all are relatives. And other ones, there was basically no one voting at all. So there was in a region somewhere in the middle of England, and there was no one rich. maybe it was all just farmers, and no one had money. And in the whole area, not a single person was voting. A rotten bog. And basically never was that country then represented, and no one ever talked about it. And who should decide to build a fabric? I don't know. Who should make policies to maybe bring some richness there, or some money, some wealth, if no one is representing that country? No one could vote for it. And I don't know where we are. Let's just release the contraction and pull it again in for last time. Okay. Now we understood it. Can we make a video about that? We made one about voting right, where we said about only the 4 reforms, 1842, 1867, and 1918, 1928. What of it do we take for the House of Commons? Everything. Why not everything? Use every opportunity. Now we've understood it. Okay, let's just take it. We have information, maybe we're going to use it. And when we're going on, and then here's written, and contract for last time, I put the next thing. So, this system was abolished. The Reform Act of 1832 had greatly increased the number of people with the right to vote. The Act also abolished the out-pocket and rotten boroughs, and more parliamentary seats were given to the towns and cities. I don't know how it is abolished or what it now means. It didn't exist in that form anymore. More people could vote 1842 and 1867, and then also 1918 and 1928, also all women could vote. And that way now the constituencies exist. They still exist, but now all the people in there can vote, all over 18, if they are citizens and so on. And also everyone can be voted for living there. And that was the last thing here. And we're going to the next exercise, the anchor chain stability test. The toes are pointing forward and we're pressing with the leg into the ground. And everyone over the age of 18 can stand for P. And most of the times they are part of the three political parties, Conservative, Labour or Liberal Democrats. Let's try to include that here. We can't make a video about the singularity about the party system, maybe, but let's try to include as much as possible. I don't think it will confuse the people if we're explaining that these people who are as members of parliaments in the House of Commons are mostly from these three political parties. I don't think it will confuse. It is clear for the people that if it were just for the House of Commons, what is that these are not the information we're looking for, and if it has too much information, they just can disregard them. And if they understand them more or less, they understand it pretty good. I think these are separate information, and so we will not confuse them. We will see. I'm not here to learn about the different political parties of the United Kingdom. I'm just here for the House of Commons. But it might add to understanding better who these people are, that these are politicians, mostly of political parties and so on. And they are political parties, Conservative, Liberal and Labour. But there seem to be also parties for Scottish, Welsh and Northern Irish interests. Let's not do that in this video, that's so complex. But they're also independent ones, that's also so complex. We just say mostly. Okay, and that is the House of Commons. But we're going to say something more. And the other chamber in the Houses of Parliament is the House of Lords. So we have talked about the House of Commons, about the House of Lords. And they are working more or less together. I don't really understand that part. I don't think it is the same room. So it's not the one in the morning, the other ones in the afternoon in the same room. So these are different, not just houses called, but different places. And we're relaxing, but we keep the link there. No, it is not the same building, I think. It's a different building, but in the same big building. Do we sometimes walk from left to right? How's all that happening? I want to say we can't really do a video about the House of Commons and representing again into the ground, and we're never mentioning anything to that. There's a second chamber exists. We cannot just go on without saying it. But there's the House of Lords, and a little bit at least do we have to say something very easy, simple, understandable. And in the House of Commons, they are representing the constituency, and they're helping to create new laws, and they're discussing new laws. And when the House of Lords looks at the laws and They can also propose laws, and we look if it fits for purpose. And the people in the House of Lords, they oftentimes had special jobs in lawmaking and business, and we're looking at the laws if it makes sense. We have a link to the outside, we're pressing again into the ground. And so by the way, we're creating laws, and they're both supporting each other in getting the best laws done. But the House of Commons has the right to overrule the House of Lords. But it doesn't happen very often. That would be a good presentation. Next thing, not the Houses of Lords. That will be the next presentation, but we're going to prepare now rather the media and the government, something different. Proceedings in Parliament. So both, in the House of Lords and in the House of Commons, but it's not the same room. Do we look differently? Are we somehow too distinguished? Do the one have blue, the other red one? Red carpets and seats. Proceedings in Parliament are broadcast on television and published in official reports. Because why is there not a picture of a Parliament in? Just a thing from the outside. Yeah, the thing next to the tower. It would be maybe easier to understand if there would be a picture, but it's just the building from the outside. Also, the whole thing, the House of Lords, House of Commons, if you have a picture, it might be easier to understand. With two different rooms, and we see, yes, that is better, that is better. These are two chambers, two different rooms. One people go there, the other one there, and just some messengers bringing the papers from left to right, and we're looking them both into it. Or at the end, it is the same building, the same room. It would be helpful if there would be some. And it would be nice if Buckingham Palace would be in here. So the proceedings in the Parliament, which are both chambers, probably two different rooms, are broadcasted on television and published in official reports called Hansard. We are letting the lecture at the outside. What is happening in the Parliament? I'm just going to say that it's the House of Commons and House of Lords. All the politicians where they're sitting together. That is called the Hansard, the official reports of it. And they are also broadcasted on television. And there's someone writing all down what the people are saying. Written reports can be found in large libraries, but also at parliament.uk. But most people get information out of the press. These are the newspapers, or from television, radio, and internet, and press again, it's a bit wrong. And 1695. This was also an important time for the development of a free press, newspaper, and other publications which are not controlled by the government. From 1695, newspapers were allowed to operate without a government license. Increased numbers of newspapers began to be published. And the press got in the year 1695 the right to publish without a government license. So they could just publish, and everyone can just make a newspaper. And they are free from control, there's free press. And there are also some people, because they're uncontrolled, who write their own opinions and try to influence the readers into thinking the one thing they want them to think. Last exercise, the hydraulic car trick. Leg at the outside, flexed foot, and we bring the leg up. That will be the next video then, the media and the government. Who can vote? Maybe we should read that on also before we're doing all the videos to the government. But we've read it all, we're through with the whole book. Just now where we're making those videos. Members of the House of Lords may not stand for election to the House of Commons, but are eligible to all other public offices. Okay, these are not the same people. This is the beginning. A different question. The people from the House of Commons are becoming the one in the House of Lords. But the one of the House of Lords can't go back into the House of Commons, at least not at the same time. And they would apply. So that can be a decision someone is not making, because we're saying I want to keep a member of parliament for my constituency and not become a peer or life peer. I don't know if it is really forever, and they're no longer representing a constituency. And the other thing, the UK Parliament. The public can listen to debates in the Palace of Westminster. Now, what is now the Palace of Westminster? Is that thing here? I don't understand that. If that thing here is the Houses of Parliament, what is now the Palace of Westminster? The public can listen to debates in the Palace of Westminster from public galleries in both the House of Commons and the House of Lords. The Houses of Parliament. They might be a part of the Palace of Westminster. No, we don't have time. We will continue in the next video with the House of Commons. Thank you very much. And until next time.